Hello everybody and welcome to Hydlide, or may it's pronounced Hydlide. Either way, you hear that music, it's going to be playing throughout the majority of the playthrough, so if you want to get out now. Anyway, you see a dragon and or monster, cast a spell and or use a breath attack on the princess, turning her into 3 fairies, and we get to start the game. Now, I apologize for the rather choppy and sloppy way I'm going to be doing this, but I have a list of at least 30 things I'd like to comment on, and I don't want to miss anything because of the recording. I've been trying to re-record this for at least a dozen times, so I apologize if I seem paranoid, but I really don't want to miss much. If I miss anything, I'm going to blame it on Indiana Jones syndrome for obvious reasons, I hope. Anyway, I already commented on the music. I'm trying to be marking things off here, but anyway, you actually lose health while you travel through certain terrains. I'm not even going to argue the point. That is a dumb mechanic, seeing as they don't even bother giving you an audio cue. On the plus side, you'll actually regenerate health while standing still in certain terrains. I believe it is actually dependent on what level you are. Speaking of leveling, the level system is kind of like Exile or YS2, I'd like to say it was. I can't think of any other games. But either way, it actually shows you your maximum potential and sort of limits you to a certain amount for your particular level. But I will say it did do it better than Exile, seeing as I don't think Exile had any sort of maximum marker. So we can knock that one out. Oh boy, now the menu. Well, let's start with the save function. Oh dear, this is the save state save function. That's why I like calling it, because essentially it is a save state. It saves the game right where you left it. It saves the game right where you left it, and if I could just die to, there we go, demonstrate how exactly to load. I'm not going to argue the point. This is dumb, seeing as they don't even bother giving you any sort of indication. But yeah, to actually load the game, you actually hit Game Start, go to your menu, and hit Load. Please note that if you actually save before you load, it will save over your last load sequence. Anyway, once you load, it actually changes the location of enemies, and it actually changes the location of enemies, so you can actually just keep reloading until things are out of your way, which is one of the things I'll be tackling. Or, well, one of the things I'll be doing. Oh, boy. Let's see here. That was that one. And I already explained the save state save system. Again, I apologize for this. Oh, yes, that's right. The password system. The password system, if you do decide to turn off the game, instead of having a battery backup, it actually gives you a password. Please note that if you do not have your password, you cannot continue your game because it does not have a battery backup, so you can't just go to your menu and hit load. So you will need to get a password to continue playing where you last left off. It's a 16-character password, which may seem excessive, but if you take into consideration that it brings back whatever level you have, your current life, your current magic, all the items you have, as well as your location, that's at least 5 factors it has to consider. So Actually, I think 16 characters is pretty good for 5 factors. Either way, please note that, to my knowledge, experience is not given back if you use your password, so be careful about that. Anyway, speaking of which, if you load a game with the save state save system, it will actually retain your experience. That's another thing I didn't actually have on, because there's so many different things to comment on. Let's see here. Yeah, that is another thing. Speed. You actually have an option to actually increase your speed to double. And you can just change it back to normal, which is essentially half of what your double is. Let's see here. Oh yes, that's another thing I gotta say. Certain monsters are actually stuck on certain terrains. For instance, these slimes will only move on plains and underneath these sceneries. They may get on them like that, but they never actually get in them. That being said, certain enemies are stuck to certain scenery. Another thing I gotta comment on is the fact that it is a top view game, so there's no bad navigation controls like a certain other game I hate. Let's see, I discussed the password system. Oh yes, audio cues. Whenever you actually attack an enemy, it actually gives you an audio cue, and it gives you an audio cue when they're attacking you. So yes, I would highly recommend having your volume up, just so you can hear the audio cues for your combat. Speaking of which, it is excessive for leveling up. It'll take 100 slimes just to even get to level 2. I'm not going to argue the point. That's way too many for what it should be. And for the next thing I'm going to discuss, I'd like to do it here. I better get the cross while I'm here anyway, but let's see here. I'll wait until one of those monsters with faces get in that free-walled area. But anyway, the movement mechanics of Hydlide are pretty interesting, actually. For instance, you see that person about, I'd like to say, four characters up, that has its face downward. That enemy actually is pointed downward, and it has a face, so that's why I'm referencing it for this, because of the movement mechanics. You see, unlike most games where enemies actually move randomly, which I'm aware that there's a lot of people who like saying Hydlide's movements are random, which I can't blame them for saying because they seem random. They are actually in some sort of path. For instance, this enemy that's pointed downwards can only move right, down, and left if it's pointed downwards, unless all those avenues are blocked, in which case they'll go up. And that slime moving up to the lower right, it's moving up. I'm referencing that one because it does not have a face. It's moving up, so it can only move right, up, and left. It cannot move down. Until it turns to the left, then it actually changes its front to the left, so it can move up, left, and down. Okay, that is the movement mechanics. Let's see, I already discussed that. Speaking of which, whenever an enemy is actually moving away from you, that is their back, so you can actually attack them safely. So essentially, it is possible to hit them on the side if you time it correctly, and it'll actually be a safe spot for a short time until they turn to meet you. But generally the best way is actually to attack them from the back, which is whatever direction they're not able to go. Okay, I discussed that, so again, I apologize if I seem to do this choppy and such, but anyway, main bosses are essentially four character spaces big. For instance, there's only two main bosses that I'm gonna call main bosses because really the vampire doesn't count because it doesn't have the same mechanic as the boss, but either way, these two main bosses are 4 times as big as the player character. They actually have an attack radius all the way around them. That being said, they don't actually have a back, so you'll actually have to be very careful, because if you run into their corner, they can kill you very quickly, and there's really no good way to actually attack them because there's no back. Speaking of which, magic does not work on bosses. Anyway, that's that one down, so oh boy, I still got lots of other things. Yeah, that's another thing I wanted to comment on. You can't actually enter things like castles by touching them, unlike Final Fantasy or Dragon Warrior. I don't know why, that's just always bothered me, but anyway, yeah, I'm going to pause that game so the music doesn't bother you. Let's see here, that's number 11, oh boy. After you get to a certain level, for instance, once you get to level 3 with the slimes, you won't actually be able to get experience from slimes anymore. You'll actually have to upgrade to, well, certain other enemies, but I'm going to be using ropers for this demonstration after I get to that particular level, but I still got more things to explain, because I really don't want to miss anything, because I've been trying to re-record this for a very, very long time. Let's see here. Let's see, I already discussed the enemies getting stuck on whatever terrain they're on. For instance, the ropers and zombies are stuck to bricked areas and dirt, respectively. Once you get to level 2, you get the turn spell, which essentially turns the enemy back to the opposite of whatever way that they actually are moving. For instance, if they're going left, they'll go to the right after that spell is cast. Please note that this is also true with spells that get shot out from enemies. However, be warned that if an enemy were to, say, bump into a area before you actually cast the spell, it may actually turn back after it hits the area and keep going whatever direction it was going to go anyway, so be very careful about that. Okay, let's see here. Let's see here, turn spell, I already discussed the oh yes, that's right. Magic does not give you any experience for actual combat. I'm not going to argue the point. That's just a bad thing. The only real useful magic is actually turn. There is going to be a few times where you have to use the fire and wave spell. Actually, only once for each now that I think about it, but outside of that, the only really useful spell is turn. Anyway, I already said magic has no experience. Already discussed how turns the magic spells. Oh boy, here's a confusing one. You see this setup? How these enemies are? Well, once you leave a screen for one screen, it'll actually keep the enemies where they were. Or it may actually move them one space up towards where they were moving, but generally freeze them where they were. However, if you leave two screens, they'll actually reset the entire area. Oh yes, that's right. Also, if you do deal damage to an enemy that is leaving the screen, and it does actually leave the screen, it will gain full health whenever it comes back on screen. Hey, let's see here. Oh yes, Hydlide is older than Zelda, by the way. I just wanted to make that clear. I don't even know why people like referencing Zelda against Hydlide. I mean, really, it's a game with an experience system, which honestly reminds me more of Chrysalis than Zelda, but that's beside the point. Let's see here. There is actually no attack animation for Hydlide, which makes a lot of people think that they're not doing anything whenever they're trying to attack. However, the way that I'll get into combat in a moment, I need to knock that one out. The way combat actually works is you have attack and defend mode. Your defend mode is actually the default mode you have, which you're probably going to be using throughout the majority of the game. But either way, your defend mode actually makes it so you deal less damage while taking less damage, and your attack mode will make you deal more damage while taking more damage. That being said, I really wouldn't recommend being in attack mode unless you're trying to level up on weaker enemies. And really, you need to be in attack mode to even hurt slimes in the first place, which means the second level is going to be one of the hardest to get to. Let's see, just discuss that. Oh yeah, by the way, unlike a certain other game I hate, the enemies with the same names have the same stats. I know that doesn't exactly sound like much, but unlike another game I don't like, at least they're kind enough to do that instead of giving enemies more power depending on what level you are and where you are. I'm not going to argue the point. That was just a beginner's trap. In all seriousness, though, for those of you who think I'm bashing Dungeon Magic too much, please know that I was actually willing to actually complete that game rather than just do it for 10 to 20 minutes and just complain about it. I was actually willing and able to beat it. Anyway, yeah, we got to I apologize, I'm just working through everything so I don't accidentally leave anything out. Anyway, there is actually going to be a hole that appears directly to the left of this particular area. In that walled area, I'd like to say about 5 spaces to the left of the player character. There's actually going to be a hole that appears there. Please note that unless you grab the item right to the lower middle of this particular portion of this area, the hole that appears there will not appear and you will be trapped in this area right to the left here, and there's no way that I'm aware of to actually get out, so be very careful. Coincidentally, if you are unlucky enough to actually save while you have too low a health in an area which causes HP drain, you can actually just sort of soft lock, and you're going to get constantly killed as soon as you reload, so be very careful about that. Yeah, that was one of the ones I did skip. Good thing I'm looking over things. Again, I apologize for the way this is being presented, but I don't want to miss anything. Anyway, item locations are actually random. That being said, you can just keep saving and reloading to actually get items. That being said, you really don't need to check everything. All you really have to do is save and keep reloading and keep doing the exact same one you've been doing. So yeah, items are randomized. Yeah, I should mention that there is this one part of the game where you have to kill a few knights to actually get a treasure chest to appear. Please note that if you kill too many of them after the treasure chest appears, it'll disappear again and reset the counter, so you actually have to kill them again to actually get it to reappear. So be very careful about that. Let's see here, that was 28. Oh yes, there is actually a very dangerous place in this game that I like calling the water area. I'm going to be avoiding it for this particular playthrough, but either way, that's where the river snakes are. That's what I'm going to be calling them anyway, and they actually give the best experience in the game. But honestly, I think they're too dangerous to really deal with, but that's beside the point. I'm just mentioning them just in case people want to try it for themselves. There's going to be a hole directly below the exit of the third cave. Yes, third cave. We actually go through, and that's going to actually take you to the water area. Please note you don't actually have to go through the water area to do anything. But I just thought I'd mention it just in case people want to get experience. Anyway, yeah, I think that's almost everything that I can think of offhand that I had on my list of 30 things. I apologize that took so long and that it's sloppy and choppy to do it this way, but honestly, I don't want to re-record this any more than I have to, so really that was the only way I could spew out all those miscellaneous things, comments, mechanics, and other things, just so I wouldn't have to re-record it. Speaking of which, I doubt this will be a no-death playthrough. I really am not concerned about that. I'm more or less concerned about getting out the mechanics, which I did fairly well. You know, there were at least 20 mechanics I actually spewed out there, which honestly, I'm not even gonna argue the point. That's just a bit excessive for a game like this. Either way, I will say it is innovative for its time, seeing as it has a save state save system, and and the ability to actually angle yourself properly to actually surprise attack the enemy. I mean, really, the only other game I can think of offhand kind of like that would actually be Earthbound, which actually came out later. Or rather, that's the only one I can think of offhand. I mean, I guess you could say Zelda again it came out later with the Knights, seeing as you sort of have to sneak attack those ones, but really, Hydlide is one of the first ones that I'm aware of that actually makes it so that is some sort of mechanic. Either way, it's going to take, about an hour to actually beat the game. Please note that I actually went through my spiel, so it's probably going to be, maybe an hour and 30 minutes. Because of the rather excessive amount of time I spent, but speaking of which, again, I apologize for that, because really there's no good way for me to spew out all that information all at once without me missing some of it, and them being paranoid and then re-recording it again, which I've been doing for over a dozen times, so obviously I don't want to do this again. So hopefully this isn't going to be too much of a problem. Anyway, another thing I should mention is that once you get to a certain level, enemies will actually change depending on what your level is. If you are a certain level, they'll actually spawn in as stronger enemies. Probably the best, and my favorite, being the Hypers. They're one of the best ways to get experience in the game. Anyway, I don't think I missed anything, but if I did, I'm going to blame it on Indiana Jones syndrome for obvious reasons. Again, the combat audio cues are there, so I would highly recommend having them on, because really, there's no good way to know whether or not you're actually hitting the enemy. Yeah, I should probably tell my brother to put some sort of note in the description showing when I actually start playing the game, because I know that most people probably don't care too much about the mechanics, but I'm not gonna argue the point. They needed to be discussed, because they most certainly were odd. Oh yes, another thing I forgot to mention about the combat system is the fact that instead of actually using your attack button to actually attack, you actually use your D-pad to run into enemies to attack them. I'm not even gonna argue the point. That is strange. You just have to keep holding your D-pad in whatever direction you're wanting to attack. Anyway, again, once you get to a certain level, for instance, now I'm level 3, you can't actually get experience anymore. I know I mentioned this, but I just think it should be clarified. Anyway, I'm not too concerned about dying. But let's change our speed to normal. Save here. And then hopefully you can actually catch this vampire off guard. If you can attack it from the back, you'll actually kill it and get a lamp. Again, I'm not expecting to play through this game without any deaths, but we will see what happens. After you get the lamp, you can actually get the sword. Please note that you don't need the lamp to get the sword, it just makes it easier to find. you can actually use the save system against the game, seeing as you don't actually have to worry about actually fighting enemies if you just save and reload until the enemies are out of the way. This is just a faster way to actually get things. Not to mention that most enemies aren't even worth trying to fight, seeing as they generally don't give you much, if any, experience. Speaking of which, the vast majority of the time you should probably be in defend mode anyway. I should mention that there's also this rock up here that tries to kill you. Honestly, I can't say I actually found any reason why you would fight the rock. Regardless, after getting the sword, you can actually head down here. And actually kill these ropers. Please note that while training, you're better off in high speed to increase your HP recovery and to actually increase the amount of things you can kill, because that's just how this game is. Anyway, please note that once an enemy gets into that position, right to the right there, it is actually a safe spot until they can turn. So be extra vigilant, and you may be able to sneak attack them. Please know that it's possible to do that even as they're coming toward you. You just have to time it very properly. I just hope that this recording does not give out, because if it is, I'm gonna be very upset. And you gotta understand, this is actually high speed, so this is double speed, so I'll be getting experience faster than normal, and yeah, obviously it going up 1 pixel at a time is still going to be excessively long. I would highly recommend letting go of your attack button the instant you kill whatever it is you're aiming for, so whatever enemy comes to your side and tries attacking you won't actually deal that much damage. Or as much, because your HP still drops like a rock whenever you're hit. Anyway, as I said, magic doesn't actually give you experience, so there's really no point in using it. And if the turn spell is used against something that's already bumping on something, it'll just continue on whatever path it was on. I apologize if I seem to be repeating myself, but really, I already went through essentially all my spiel, so I really don't know what else to say. another thing I should say is save often whenever you're out of an area that takes away your health. That way, if you do die, you can still retain your experience when you load. And another level. Honestly, I think every other level is easier to get to than the even levels. I really don't even know why, it just is. Again, I apologize if I seem to be out of things to say, but really, I'm sort of out of things to say. Although that is something I should say, the main reason why I think most people have problems with this game is because they feel like they should be doing something whenever they're in combat. So they generally tap the attack button constantly like that. That's just not the way Hydlide works, because if you are ever hit in attack mode, your HP just drops immediately. That being said, most people are just not used to just not using your attack button the vast majority of the time, which is essentially a requirement for this game, which is the main reason why people have problems with it. Again, your HP heals you when you're stand still, so if you're low on health, stand still. Once you get to a certain level, the bricked areas will stop hurting you. Honestly, I don't even understand why terrain actually hurts you in the first place. Now, water and desert I can understand because of stamina and first, respectively, but outside of that, I don't know, use your imagination. Maybe branches fall on you in trees and you trip constantly in the bricked areas. That's probably the best my imagination can think of. Speaking of which, I don't even know. This is supposed to be one of those areas where this is an elven area. I guess it is. I mean, fairies are sort of elvish, right? So I don't even understand why you would get hurt by trees, but that's beside the point. Please know that if you do not get the pod, that hole over there won't actually appear. And you will get stuck if you exit through the upper entrance of the cave up there. I'm really not even sure how the upper entrance even leads there, but that's beside the point. Anyway, let's save the game. Enter this area. And we'll be wanting to actually get rid of a few of these pink knights. Okay, get shield, exit through this area, and then that's what the area I was talking about for the waterway. I really want to recommend going down there, and if you feel like fighting sea snakes, which are those shadows there, please know that they are not shadows if you go down there. I really just never found them worth the effort, because if you can't get directly behind them, they just kill you very quickly. Anyway, to get this next fairy, which I did get the first fairy, right? You actually have to run into trees in this area until you find the one that does not hurt you. Then you gotta flash your attack button and then just sort of run away from it. Speaking of which, to actually get the first fairy, all you have to do is walk up to the bottom of the trees. Please note that if you stand there too long for the first fairy, wasp will actually appear. Speaking of which, the main character's name is Jim. And I know a lot of people like making a Jim and bees joke, but really it's wasp, not bees. Which is another thing I forgot to mention actually. This game actually has a HP indicator on the lower right hand side. That being said, you can actually monitor whatever HP your enemies have, which I will say is a nice touch. I don't even know why. It's like all the harder games, such as Dungeon Magic and Hydlide, actually have mechanics that actually let you see your enemy's health, but it's a nice touch. Anyway, please know that you need the pot to actually see these wizards there. Anyway, if you exit through the entrance of the area I was just at, the upper entrance, you'll get stuck at where that hole is. Please note that if you do not have the pot, the hole won't be there for you to leave. Anyway, you need to go into this cave and kill these yellow knights. Yeah, that's another thing I think I didn't mention. When you're casting spells, you actually have to hit whatever button is not your attack button until you select which spell you want to use, and you have to hold in your attack button and then use the spell button while holding in your attack button to actually use a spell. Please know that if an enemy is attacking you, it's pretty much instant death, because really your HP is just going to drop immediately if that happens. Hopefully these knights don't get stuck in this lower left-hand corner, because really that's probably the biggest problem in this particular area, because you have to kill these golden knights with melee. Please know that, to my knowledge, spells won't work for this counter. I did not mean to do it then, but oh well. Get a ring, which actually acts as the first gem we got. Then leave the area. You're probably better off just saving and reloading if the enemies are there. They're just not worth the time. Anyway, once you get a key, you can get a jewel from here, the ring from there, And let's check the inventory. All we need is the next gem, the next fairy, and the medicine. Yep, that's 3 more. But right now, we got to train. First things first, wait for your HP to go up. But thankfully, all you need to do is get a 1 level from these zombies, but let me tell you, it is painfully long because of the fact they can run away very quickly. And as I'm sure I already mentioned, as they leave the screen, they get full health back when they return, which is a bit of a nuisance, especially in an area where they run away often. So if you can get them trapped in the terrain, good for you. I really want to go into attack mode here, because seriously, they can deal a lot of damage, especially if they decide to gang up on you. You know, I'd probably almost be done with this game by now if I wasn't too busy explaining things. Oh well. That's just the way things are. Pretty sure you still take damage from standing in the dirt, so you do, don't you? As for why you get hurt in the dirt, who knows? May those hands in the graveyard of Castlevania sort of raise up and try grabbing ya. 'Cause you know, why not? Speaking of which, if you need a safe spot, you can actually just wait here. Now, I know it may be tempting, but I really wouldn't recommend using your attack button here. Because if the zombies decide to gang up on you, they kill you very, very quickly. I mean, seriously, most things when you're in attack mode usually deal around a third of your health worth of damage, and that is never a good thing, especially when fighting multiple of them. Again, thankfully you only need to get 1 level up from these zombies, but it's painfully long because of their rather random pattern. Hopefully they stay up in this general area. I really wouldn't recommend getting too far into the dirt area, seeing as you still take too much health damage if you're not careful. Speaking of which, even though enemies cannot move from certain terrains, they can still attack you if you're adjacent to those terrains, so be careful about that. So many mechanics for such a game, isn't it? Oh well, I know I got most of them. As you can see, if enemies gang up on you, you can die very quickly. Well, at least I'm over half. You know, this game isn't technically that long. It's really just the immense amount of grinding that makes it long. Because most of the time you're just training up just to even get to be able to beat something. Which is okay for RPGs, but really such an excessive number just isn't really a good thing. Oh well, I will give it this. It's shorter than, say, what I did for Dragon Warrior. Of course, I was doing an old weapon playthrough, but that's beside the point. It still would have been much longer than this anyway. Although I will say it would have been easier to have the sword, you don't actually need it. Yeah, you know, I have tried to get the second Hydlide to work, and honestly I've never actually gotten any sort of luck with it, so I may actually just skip off to the third Hydlide game, which it would be Super Hydlide for the Sega Genesis. So we will see what happens there, but let me tell you, that game has lots of starting mechanics and other mechanics that make this game even look even simpler, and that's not a good thing when I can say that. Oh well, at least it's not as complicated as the Elder Scrolls 1 Arena, which I'll need to get some sort of guide to eventually. It's been really slow because of the vast amount of the vast array of stats you need to record, because there's so many things to consider in that game. For instance, what race you are, what stats you have, what quests you have. It's just a giant mess, and there's lots of possibilities for that one. I will say Super Hydlide did at the very least make that simpler than the Elder Scrolls 1 Arena. At least they only have 4 classes instead of how many other ones they got. Oh, I'm so close. Can't wait for that last level, and then I can actually train on hypers. And let me tell you, hypers are substantially better than any of these other things I have been training on. Although I will say sea snakes are technically better, but honestly I don't bother with them because they're just too dangerous unless you can get directly behind them. Oh, looks like one more. One more maybe, hopefully. Yay! Anyway, stand here and regenerate. Either way, Super Hydlide has its own set of problems. For instance, the attack You do get an attack animation in the game, but essentially it's going to be your right hand only, so if you were positioned like that to an enemy, when you attacked, you'd miss. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. I'm playing the normal Hydlide, not Super Hydlide. Anyway, after you get to this particular level, you can actually run around killing hypers after you kill a few slimes. And let me tell you, hypers are substantially better than any of those other enemies we were training on earlier. I will say it's a bit annoying seeing as they have a bad tendency of running off the screen. However, they are substantially better for overall experience. As you can see, I'm already over 20%, or at 20%. I will say that you should probably back off once you get to, I'd like to say the third line, more for health. But really, outside of that, you should be able to sort of train for about, I'd like to say 3 levels on these. Please note there are no enemies in this particular area unless you touch the bottom of the trees. And again, if you grab the fairy and you stay too long at the bottom of the trees, they'll spawn anyway, so be very careful. Speaking of which, I really wouldn't recommend killing the kobold unless you accidentally do it, because if you kill a kobold, they actually spawn in as goblins and they're just not worth killing. Again, as long as you keep your finger off the attack button and run away once you get to around the third bar of health, you should be fine. Okay, and that's the next level. Yeah, another nuisance is that due to the fact you actually use the D-pad to attack, you have a bad tendency of running past enemies. Which isn't really too much of a problem, but it is a nuisance. make sure you save often. I keep forgetting to do that. Please know that hypers can kill you very quickly if you decide to just use your attack button. Especially when there's 3 of them swarming the area all at once. Honestly, I find it easier just to level up in defend mode. Well, it's past half. Again, it would be easier if they stopped running away to regain their health. Because again, that's a mechanic. I will say that the fact that the enemy's location and HP actually freezes when you leave the screen, when you leave one screen, can be actually helpful for the main boss if you, for whatever reason, lost the medicine you get once you beat the dragon. Speaking of which, in the original, I believe you actually get the medicine in the last chest where the treasure, where the gem is supposed to be. And this one, you actually get the medicine in that chest in the older original version of this game. But either way, the boss, Viralis's boss fight is actually split up into 2 rooms. You can actually run down one space and actually sort of wait to actually regenerate your health to actually fight Viralis again. Just please know that you'll have to avoid 4 skeletons if you choose this method, which may seem excessive, but really, well, the way Hydlide just sort of pops in wherever he feels like, yeah, it's safer just to go down with the 4 skeletons and deal with them rather than try dealing with Hydlide. Either way, we're almost to the next level. I would have already beaten this game if I didn't go on my spiel. Either way, oh well, it had to be done. Although, if anyone's wondering why it looks like some of them are turning back, it's because they are leaving the screen and another one spawning in directly where they left from. That's why it looks like some of them are turning back. To my knowledge, that's the way the movement mechanics work. I'm aware a lot of people think it's random, but it's really not. And I will say it's actually a pretty interesting mechanic, although not really well done, and I accidentally killed that kobold. Yeah, goblins are not worth the effort to kill, so seriously, just reset the area if that happens. Again, you reset the area by leaving 2 screens away. Please note you can actually do this with any area with slimes, and actually there is one hyper if you decide to go through the waterway area near the castle. Please note though that one isn't really efficient to train on because it has a bad tendency of just spawning in where the castle is, which is in a separate part of that area. So it's really just not efficient to actually train on that one. And there's only one of them instead of several like this. Let's see here, I'd like to say this is the third level I've gotten for this, so this shouldn't take too much longer. I don't think you get another level after this, and if so, I'll train for however long it takes to get that level too, but I don't think we need to. And the thing of it, I haven't actually died legitimately yet. I know I died once, but really that was more or less to demonstrate how the save function works. I'm not gonna argue the point though, them not giving you any sort of indication you got save game is really just not a good thing. They should give you some sort of indication, much like that HP drain for walking through certain terrains. They really need to give you an audio cue. You know, like Dragon Warrior or Chrysalis, I'm sure did that. Come to think of it, even the Tales of games did something similar at the Lava Tower, didn't they? In the miasma spots. They at least either A, made a sound effect, or B, made the screen change color or shimmer or something. And it looks like I am done with training with these things, so we're almost done with the game. Okay, all we have to do now is head up to the upper left corner of this particular area, save, and now use a wave spell. Please note that you actually have to hit both of these wizards at the same time with the same spell. Probably the biggest problem is the wave spell can only be cast side to side, which means unless they're both right next to each other, you're going to miss. You can't go up and down, which I will say is a problem if you're planning going through the waterway and going to the left. Honestly though, I think it's overall easier just to be in the land area and actually just deal with the enemy at the lower right hand portion. Anyway, you need to cast a fire spell to burn a bush here. Kinda like Legend of Zelda, come to think of it, where you burn a bush to get to level 8, I'd like to say. Yeah, I think it was level 8. Anyway, yeah, just get through these Black Am Knights, or Black Knights as I'm probably gonna call them. Move through the area with the skeletons. Don't even bother dealing with them, they're just not worth effort. Break the grave, which takes away the water outside of the area, or around the castle, which actually lets you, oh, that's right, you can't actually hurt the dragon until you actually drain the water first. So, yeah, don't even bother dealing with the dragon until the water's out of the way. Speaking of which, I am planning on giving you the password for actually before actually beating the game. Anyway, you gotta fight the dragon. I would highly recommend switching over your speed to high for regenerating purposes and just switching it to normal for combat purposes. Please know that you'll be wanting to fight it in defend mode, because if you go into attack mode against any of the bosses, unless it's Veralis at the right particular time, you immediately die. Just keep doing this and chiseling away at its health. Until you get the message. Whatever you do, make sure you don't lose this, or the fight with Veralis is going to be much more difficult. And again, it is possible to do that by running down and avoiding the skeletons, as I previously mentioned. Anyway, grab the third gem. And I don't think you can actually get to the last level after clearing out the water, so please note that. Anyway, make sure you have full health. And here's your password if you're interested. I'll probably do it at the end of this particular segment. I really wouldn't recommend trying to use a password in the boss room, because Veralis has a bad tendency of spawning in anywhere he feels like. And he may spawn in directly on top of you, and it's just going to pretty much drain you, if not instantly kill you, so be very careful about that. Yeah, just avoid getting hurt. Speaking of which, here's your password if you want to get to this particular part. And we have all items that I'm aware of. I don't think there's any we missed. And we can deal with Veralis. If he at any time hits you, gets you caught in the corner of his hitbox, don't even bother fighting him. And if any of his companions interfere, don't even bother fighting him. He's not even worth the effort, because you are not going to win like that. Also, if he attacks you with any of his fireballs and actually hits you up, pretty much he's going to instantly kill you, so be very careful. Essentially, you want to hit your attack mode the instant before you actually use your medicine. I did too fast there. If you don't do it at the right time, just reload. I messed up on that one. Just flash it on, then just immediately let go of your attack button and head in defend mode. Because that's the only good way I'm aware of to actually kill Veralis, unless you want to go down and wait for your HP to regenerate while juggling between all those 4 skeletons. And let me tell you, those things can kill you very quickly. Either way, as long as you don't actually reload a previous save, or save and reload. Speaking of which, if you save and reload a save, it will actually reset the enemy's HP, so be very careful about that if you're planning on dealing with Veralis that way. Anyway, that is Hydlide. A very complicated game for what it is. I will give it credit that at the very least it pretty much gave you a save state save system, showed you enemy HP, and actually had some sort of... I really don't know how to describe it. It is strange, for lack of a better term. Either way, yeah, I will say the combat mechanics are awkward, and it most certainly isn't well made, but I will applaud them for making a save state save system and showing enemies HP, as well as the movement mechanics so you can actually get behind enemies. That's pretty neat, but outside of those things, I really can't think of anything I can praise it for. Oh well, that was Hydlide. I hope everybody enjoyed this video. Again, I apologize for the beginning, because I know it was slow because I had lots of things to explain, but that's beside the point. I got through it, so that's the end. I hope everybody has a good day.